Western countries are clearly trying to steer the Armenia-Azerbaijan reconciliation process onto their own tracks, and we all know where those tracks typically lead.
According to Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova, who spoke at a briefing on July 24th, Western influence is having a destabilizing effect on the normalization efforts between Azerbaijan and Armenia. She warned that such interference risks unbalancing the region. Zakharova emphasized that, despite the West's familiar rhetoric of goodwill, Russia has no doubt about the true motives behind their involvement, a purely opportunistic agenda, hiding beneath the surface of yet another so-called peace initiative.
We have repeatedly emphasized that Russia is interested in a stable, safe, and prosperous South Caucasus. One of the necessary conditions for achieving this goal is the long-awaited reconciliation between Baku and Yerevan. And how much has our country already done for that? With Russia's direct involvement, and with President Putin personally, a major stage of Armenian-Azerbaijani normalization was launched in 2020. A roadmap was developed covering all strategic areas, negotiating a peace treaty, unblocking transport and economic links in the region, delimiting and demarcating the border, and fostering civil society dialogue. At some point, Armenia and Azerbaijan opted for a direct bilateral dialogue. We respect that choice. After all, it's they who have to negotiate and live side by side. So if they found the opportunity for direct dialogue, that's their sovereign decision. And it shows that much of what we've promoted is working.
That, in a nutshell, is Russia's official stance, a regionally driven peace process, one grounded in geography, history, and proximity, and not a geopolitical game board to be played on by distant powers. But, according to Moscow, the West sees things differently, and not for the first time.
We've always underlined that we remain ready to assist both sides in all areas, including offering a venue for consultations or even for signing a peace agreement and establishing diplomatic relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. If they want bilateral dialogue, great. If help is needed, we're ready. We supported the foreign ministers' meeting in Almaty in May 2024. We welcomed the recent high-level contacts in Abu Dhabi on July 10th. But the signals coming from Western capitals tell a different story. On the surface, everything sounds nice, but we have to look deeper. The information we receive leaves no doubt about their true motives. Beneath the latest round of noble rhetoric lies a purely opportunistic goal: to yank Armenian-Azerbaijani normalization out of its regional context, where two South Caucasus nations are seeking constructive, consensus-based solutions with the help of immediate neighbors like Russia, Iran, and Turkey, and instead to shift it onto Western tracks, and we know where those tracks usually lead. This is about scoring political points, declaring yet another success of Western diplomacy. But the real outcome will be destabilization of the regional security system and undermining of the principle of regional self-sufficiency, when South Caucasus nations and bordering states resolve their own issues without outside interference.
Zakharova's words are not just rhetoric. They're a warning. In Moscow's view, the West, particularly Washington and Brussels, is not merely interested in peace, but in ownership of the narrative. The narrative of conflict, of resolution, and ultimately of influence. Russia accuses Western powers of trying to hijack a process they neither initiated nor contributed to, only to then claim credit and reshape the outcome to fit their own interests. And the Kremlin is not shy about pointing fingers, especially at the U.S.
We see attempts by Washington to interfere in the process of lifting the transport blockade in the region. The Americans claim they supposedly have a unique solution. In fact, there's nothing new, nothing beyond what was already developed by the relevant trilateral working group co-chaired by the deputy prime ministers of Russia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia. This is deception. Back in 2023, during the active phase of that group, we were close to a package solution for phased unblocking of all transport routes and for building a logistics architecture that would benefit Azerbaijan, Armenia, and their neighbors. Unfortunately, due to the destructive influence of the Westerners and the position of the Armenian authorities, that work stalled.
From Moscow's viewpoint, Western interventions are less about peace and more about politics, specifically weakening regional frameworks like the Eurasian Economic Union and the Commonwealth of Independent States, where Russia holds sway.
Let us not forget, the existing transport infrastructure in the region complies with CIS norms and standards. As for Armenia, it is also part of the EAEU customs space. And it is precisely against such integration structures that the countries of the collective West are actively waging subversive campaigns, and they do not even try to hide it.
So what does all this mean? To the West, this may sound like the usual Kremlin narrative, suspicious of foreign involvement, protective of regional influence, and eager to blame outside forces for setbacks. But peel back the geopolitics, and one message is clear. Russia wants peace in the South Caucasus, but on its own terms, not Washington's. Zakharova's tone was not one of panic, but of warning. The peace processes are delicate, and dragging them onto Western tracks could derail more than just negotiations. After all, as she said, we know where those tracks usually lead. And Moscow, it seems, is in no mood to let the train be hijacked.